Hi, everybody. I'm Ambarish Mitra, founder and CEO of Blipper. And for those of you who don't know what's Blipper in the room means, Blipper is trying to build a augmented reality browser. You know how whenever you hear the keyword browser, what comes to mind is Chrome or Safari or Internet Explorer, if some of you are still using it. You surf the digital world with it, right? You go, you type words, and you surf the digital world. But let's not forget, the physical world is way, way bigger than the World Wide Web. And very soon, the world is heading towards where AR-based browsers would come into dominance, and you could use any camera, whether it's on your phone or head-mounted devices, and look at anything and get content. That's what we've been trying to build. It's a very hard problem to solve. There are trillions and trillions of things in the physical world to recognize it and give useful content. But we are getting there, and today we'll demonstrate that to you at some point during the talk. But more important to note, I'll need my clicker, sorry, is I'm here to talk about augmented reality and marketing and commercial business models, and I'll stitch the story together. So for just knowledge purposes, those of you who are at all confused about the topic, I'll differentiate AR and VR for you. They're not the same thing. And virtual reality sometimes has very little connection with your immediate reality. It's escaping from reality. You could be in this room and taking a walk in Venice or in a mall or somewhere else or inside a BMW car. Augmented reality has tremendous connectivity to reality itself. Reality in front of you is very important. And unless you do not understand reality, you cannot augment it. So enhancing of that reality really is what augmented reality means. Our business model is connected to three really core philosophies. The clicker for me is not working, but I'll carry on talking. Is connected to three really core philosophies. And one of the most important philosophy in that is words are not enough. Today, when you think about the internet and when you think about information access, you feel that if I give you this challenge that, is there anything that has not been digitized or you cannot find information on? And you'll think, no, there's nothing. I mean, Google and Yahoo and Bing, all these search engines are very sophisticated, and I can get absolutely any information I want on any topic. But you'll realize that even though you can get any information you want, humans are incapable of describing everything with their own words. Let's not forget, 1/7 of the world can't even read and write, and another 2/7 of the world has very basic literacy. And 4/7 of the world where people like you and me belong, school dropouts to triple PhDs, the most educated among you wouldn't have more than 10 to 12% vocabulary in any given native language. Yet, you feel you can describe everything you look at and get information. And if you try it for yourself, there's so many people's outfits, paintings, food, patterns. You come across so much visual stimuli every day, which you're not able to explain with words, and you suppress that side of your curiosity. You let it go. So in short-term future, what's coming, that if anything that drives your visual curiosity, you should be able to look at it and get information. The second philosophy, which is very related to marketeers, and guys, my slides isn't working, so I'll just carry on with my talk, usual, is for many marketeers in the room, which is like a $750 billion industry, television is media, and I don't disagree, or outdoor is media, or press is media, or the internet is media. But think about it, that I agree all those things are media, but the biggest media in the world is actually products. You know, you are sitting on a piece of chair which could be by IKEA, or you could be driving a car which is a Mercedes or a BMW, or could be consumer drink, which could be a Coke can or a Heineken. For a company like Coca-Cola, they have more cans in circulation than all magazines combined in any given country. For Mercedes, the biggest showroom is actually on the street. You know, there are more cars in the streets in most cities in the world than actually cars packed in a showroom. What I'm trying to communicate that this is a paradigm shift of thinking where brands and media owners are not just going to think of media as a concept of something you see in a digital screen or in a printed screen. Media could be, anything could be transformed into the media in the world of AR world. And whether if you want to know how to make an avocado salad, you just look at the avocado. You want to know how do you want to change the color of your seats or room arrangements, you just literally look at them. So this product's the biggest media in the world is the second philosophy behind which augmented reality and companies like Blippar are riding on. So that very neatly brings me to the point of a paradigm shift in thinking for particularly advertisers, where they spend a lot of money to actually drive what they call earned media. And what we are trying to say to them, that actually the amount of money you've already spent in driving brand recognition, like people know what Coca-Cola means, people know what Mercedes means or Red Bull means. You already have a very large inherited brand, and you can already convert that earned media and as a starting, make it into paid media. And people are checking your products out all the time. They're almost like at the door. They're knocking at the door using their phone's camera, taking photos. But you could already convert those users into a storytelling tool, and whatever that story is. You know, whether you want to talk about recipes, you want to talk about interiors of your car, whether education institutions want to talk about, you know, how do you calculate the volume of a pyramid. There's a paradigm shift where in everyday communications, how augmented reality would play a big role. The best way to really explain this, as I myself said, is words are not enough. My words would almost make no sense to you till you see a demonstration of what I'm talking about and where the world is heading towards. Important thing to note here is in both the world of AR and VR, the most important keyword is R. So for VR to really take off, it needs to be very near reality. If your virtual environment doesn't mimic your real environment very accurately, virtual environment you will not appreciate it, and it'll not take off. And for augmented reality to take off, again, the most important keyword is reality. Unless machines understand what is real, we won't know how to augment it. So machines need to understand that's a chair, that's a stair, this is an audience full of people in the room, clothes you're wearing. And hence, computer vision and deep learning and AI plays a very big role in the world of augmented reality. So on that note, I'm going to go on to demo. So what you're seeing here is my phone screen, and when I switch it on, It says, tap here to start blipping. What you're about to witness is the world's only real-time recognition engine, and the words are describing everything it is looking at. This is based on a 3G, 4G, Wi-Fi connection. Doesn't really matter. But the words are describing what the machine is looking at and explaining it in reality, what is going on. And it's never seen this room before, but it's trying to guess. It thinks it's a school. Maybe there's a performance going on. There's an audience. There's a crowd. It's almost guesstimating, like anybody would do it for this room. But when you give something very specific to it, so this is a very famous budding artist called Scarlett Raven out of England and hugely recognized by the Queen recently. So she's making augmented reality paintings. So same browser, when you point it at something very specific here, you will notice the screen transform. And there should be an audio on it as well. So you're noticing here artists are creating content now on two-dimensional painting, but actually doing it in a layered way. This artist actually took 1.5 years to do this painting, and every aspect of the painting was almost like a manual, physical Photoshop. She built one layer, she stitched it, she built another layer, she stitched it. This is actually real oil painting, digitally captured, but when whoever is the user, when they buy the painting or consume the painting, half the story is on the canvas and half the story is in the AR layer. This is a long one. You can spend hours on it, so I'll skip over and show you something very marketing specific. So this is Procter & Gamble, communicating in over 70 countries with their beauty product called Max Factor, asking people at point of sale to engage with their product. So immediately when you looked at that piece of paper, it says, find your perfect red. So now what I'm going to do is, it'll do a skin color detection on what's the right complexion. It's slightly slow, just bear with me. And then, based on my skin tone, the Marilyn Sunset Red is the right lipstick for me. And then I can watch the tutorial and I can buy it. And keep in mind, all this is happening on a single browser. Now, this is another example of entertainment industry. So we're still on the same browser. Now, when we point at the Star Wars Rebels, which is one of the big games by Disney, so this again, the whole Star Wars logo environment opens up in three-dimensional space. You can really check out the absolute details in it if you need to. So it says join the rebellion army. Being a rebel, I would. And then the orientation would be slightly different because of the layout of the phone for you. But then the Star Troopers are going to fly in this room. And now we are literally in the middle of a real war zone. And you can do like a multiplayer game. So you get an idea that how in AR browser you can move from one thing to another rapidly. Just so you know, the recognition capabilities is it can recognize any fruit, any flower, any animal, any point of interest, monument. The list is endless. The system can recognize billions of things. But very recently and very controversially, we launched world's first face recognition system in the same browser, because when Blipper asks users to blip stuff, almost 95%, so we've got like 65 million users on the platform, almost 95% people blip faces, at least of public figures. So today around 70,000 public figures in Blipper is blippable, and again, it's a real-time engine, it's really fast, and we almost like to take up a challenge that you put anybody's face. So I brought this random magazine, to try it out so that it's this week's People magazine, and you pointed at anyone. So that's Meryl Streep. And then I go on to the next page, and I'll show you what happens when you click on them. It's an interesting concept. So instantly, in 30 seconds, it can recognize anybody in real life, in moving pictures in television. So same concept. Humans are part of the physical world. So there's this idea we have developed called the visual knowledge graph. So if you click on any of these entities, this whole content is AI generated. So we get to see Meryl Streep's knowledge graph. So what is the connection of Meryl Streep and, let's say, Devil Wears Prada? And then you hard click on it and explains you the entity in detail. And everything you need to know about Meryl Streep, all publicly available information, appears literally below it. And now somehow if Devil Wears Prada takes your attention, you go into that molecule and you can surf endlessly. There is no end to this. You can go from one entity to another, hop on, hop off, till almost like the end of time. That's how it's designed, and yeah, that's sort of the end of the presentation. It also works on real people, so I wanted to show it's just not photos. It's a real recognition engine, so that'll be my knowledge graph, what you see right behind me. So if any one of you are famous and if you have a Wikipedia entry, you'd be on Blipper already today. Thank you very much.